Hello, my name is Jim. Welcome to my booktube channel about books and reading and stuff. John Steinbeck wrote in a Russian journal, which was published in 1948, that wherever he went in Russia, the magical name of Georgia came up constantly. The southern land in the Caucasus, with its Black Sea coast and vineyards, was spoken of as a kind of second heaven. This will be an update of my earlier video, Georgian Literature 101, which I'll link to here. Tbilisi was designated the World Capital of Books for 2021. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, a lot of the events are being rather subdued for this. Georgian literature is very rich, but not a lot has been translated into English. Georgia is the same size as Ireland, it's about 70,000 square kilometres, but unlike Ireland, which is again steeped in literature, and Ireland's writers are world renowned like James Joyce, Oscar Wilde, Sally Rooney, Maeve Binchy, C.S. Lewis, Bram Stoker, Jonathan Swift. These are known the world over, but Georgia's writers are very little known in the West. In this video I want to look at Georgian literature in English translation. Georgian literature is getting more global attention in recent years. This year, 2021, The Pear Field by Nana Ektimishvili was on the long list for the International Booker Prize. Pear Field is quite a bleak book. It's set in Tbilisi in the 1990s in Kaldani, and it's about a residential school for the intellectually disabled, known locally as the School for Idiots. It's written very starkly. The children taken to school, they're abandoned by their parents, and they're left to a life of misery, of neglect, of scant food. They're physically abused, they're sexually abused. The protagonist, Lila, is old enough to leave, but she has nowhere to go. And she's like a mother hen for some of the younger children. She takes one Iraqi under her wing and tries to get him adopted by an American couple. Nana Ektimishvili is a cinematographer, and some of the scenes in the book will make for a great film, like when the children are raiding the cherry field. The pear field, the title is this waterlogged pear field where this misshapen pear tree grows, producing toxic fruits. It's also the scene of violent sexual hazing ritual for the teenage girls of the institution. This is not a book for the faint-hearted, but it's a significant book in Georgian literature. Last year another Georgian book was on the long list for the International Booker Prize. This is The Eighth Life by Nino Haratishvili. This is the Georgian version. Nino Haratishvili lives in Germany, and this was originally written in German. It's been translated in English. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize, and it's got a lot of good reviews. The Night in the Panther Skin of Epichrist Chausani by Rustaveli is the most famous work of Georgian literature. This epic poem, written by Rustaveli in the early 12th century in homage to Tamar Mepe, Queen Tamar or King Tamar, which Joseph Stalin knew by heart, has been translated into English 5 times. First by Marjorie Wardrop, who was the sister of the British ambassador, and more recently in 2016 by Lynn Coffin, an American translator, which won the Saba Prize for the best translation. Georgia has many great poets. This is Vazha-Pshavela. Here his 3 poems being translated into English by Donald Rayfeld. This was translated in 1981. Donald Rayfeld is Professor Emeritus at the University of London, and he's translated a lot of works of Georgian literature into English, But the problem with poetry is you lose a lot of the sound of the language, the rhythm, the cadence when you translate poetry. It's very difficult to translate well. Here is Vazha-Pshavela's Poemები in Georgian. One day I hope to be able to read it. I've been living in Georgia for 11 years now. I made a video about my time in Georgia, the pros and cons, which I'll link to here. And my struggles with the language have been continual. I've got a blog about that, which I'll put in the show notes. Georgian is very different to English. There's not many words which are similar. Georgian has its own unique alphabet, and Georgian has lots of consonant clusters. One of the few poets I've read in Georgian, my favourite is Galaktion Tabidze. This is a collection of his poems. These are in Georgian and in English. This was translated by Vazha-Pshavela, Professor of English and Linguistics at the State University of Tbilisi. His most famous poem is Kari Kris, When the Wind Blows. Kari Kris, Kari Kris, Kari Kris. Potlebi Mekrian Kadaka. Heta Rigs, Heta Jazz Kalat Kris. Sadaha, Sadaha, Sadaha. Those are the first lines in Georgian. The attempt to translate this in English is not so great. This is not the fault of the translator, it's just poetry is really difficult to translate. Whirls the wind, whirls the wind, whirls the wind, and the leaves whirl from wind still to wind. Rows of trees, lines of trees bend in arch. Where art thou? Where art thou? Why so far? Again, the first four lines with this English translation. The whirls, the wind is trying to get the same sort of sound like Kari Kris, Kari Kris, Kari Kris. This is not Georgian, but it's about the Georgian queen Tamar Mepe, or King Tamar, The Girl King by Meg Clothier. This was a fascinating read. It's historical fiction and it follows the life of Queen Tamar or King Tamar, as you wish to see it. In Tbilisi, the local bookstore, the only books I found by Georgian writers in English were these three. I've yet to find any modern Georgian books that I really like. This, The Secret of Another Desert by Ia Kagratali, I really didn't like. It's in the romance genre. The translation is bad, there's lots of mistakes, and the geography in it is awful. It's about a Georgian girl who's got absolutely no character, and she goes to Egypt where she falls in love with somebody who kidnaps her, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend this. The Secret of Another Desert. We pilgrim through deserts like dervishes. Everything is too beautiful when it means should be very beautiful. Thanks to the wet monsoons, there'll be lots of oases in the desert. Wet monsoons in the Sahara Desert? I don't think so. Her eyes scintillated with anger. Another book I see a lot is this one, Dato Turashvili, Flights from the USSR. This is about a group of young Georgians who hijacked a plane in the last few years of the Soviet Union and what happens to them. But again, this is not a very engaging story. My favourite book by a Georgian author so far is this one, Granny, Iliko, Ilarion and I, by Nodar Dumbadze, my favourite Georgian writer. It's very amusing. This is set in a village in Guria during the time of the Second World War, and despite the war and the shortages, there's a lot of fun to be had. It's the tale of Zuriko, who's adopted by his grandmother, and there's his older friends Iliko and Ilarion who are always playing pranks on each other. It's a very amusing tale. This was translated in Soviet times and is probably due for being retranslated again soon. Also, if you're Georgian and watching this and know some good books in Georgian that have been translated into English, please let me know in the comments. I would like to read some more Georgian literature. I haven't been very satisfied with what I've read so far.
შემოდგომა მოვიდა წითელ ყვითელ ფერებით მოსავალმა ავსო ჩვენი მინდორველები დაიტვირთნენ ვაზები დაიტვირთნენ ტევნები აღაშღაზნენ ვაშლები გადაყვრთნენ ტევრები სადღაც ბოლოს ბუხარი სადღაც შეშაიპობა ყველგან ისმის ჩურჩული მწიფობა შემოდგომაზე ლექსი დაწერა მურმან ლებანიძემ.
That was my granddaughter reciting Shemodgoma or Autumn by Murman Lebanidze. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe below. If you have any comments or questions, again, you can put them in the comments below. And I will see you on the next video. Bye bye, or in Georgian we might say Nachwamdis or Kagat.